They bombed Earth? How cute. Now watch humanity counterattack. The Valkorian warfleet materialized above Earth like a storm of metal and malice. 63 vessels, each the size of a small city, hung in the darkness of space with their weapons charged and ready. For 3 centuries, the Valkorian Empire had dominated this sector of the galaxy. They had conquered 17 species and absorbed their territories into an ever-growing domain of subjugation. Now they had come to add humanity to their collection. Emperor Krathzul had made the decision himself. The humans had rejected his generous offer of vassalage. They had dared to request equal standing in galactic affairs. Such insolence could not be tolerated. The message needed to be clear and brutal. Submit or burn. On Earth it was a Tuesday morning. In San Francisco, people were drinking coffee and heading to work. In Mumbai, the evening markets were filling with shoppers. In Lagos, children were playing in schoolyards. Normal life continued as it had for thousands of years, with humanity blissfully unaware that everything was about to change. The bombardment began at 0947 Universal Time. Purple energy beams lanced down from orbit, each one carrying enough destructive force to level mountains. San Francisco's downtown district vanished in a flash of superheated plasma. The Golden Gate Bridge melted into the bay. Mumbai's coastal region simply ceased to exist. Lagos became a crater of molten earth and shattered dreams. Captain Elena Vasquez was off duty that morning, visiting her sister in Oakland when the sky turned purple. She watched through her apartment window as San Francisco died. The shockwave hit seconds later, shattering glass and throwing her across the room. When she pulled herself from the rubble, her ears ringing and her vision blurred, the city across the bay was gone. 8 million people had lived there an hour ago. Now there was only fire and ash. The attack lasted 17 minutes. When it ended, 23 cities had been destroyed. Coastal regions on 6 continents were burning. The death toll was estimated at 8.7 million, though the real number would never be known. Too many bodies had been vaporized, leaving nothing behind but shadows burned into concrete. The Valkorian ultimatum arrived 30 minutes after the bombardment ceased. Emperor Krathzul's face appeared on every surviving screen across the planet. His features were angular and cruel, with skin the color of deep ocean water and eyes that glowed like hot coals. When he spoke, translation software rendered his words in every human language simultaneously. Humans of Earth, you have been judged and found wanting. Your species requested recognition from the galactic community. Your species demanded respect you have not earned. This is the price of your arrogance. You have 72 of your hours to announce your complete and unconditional surrender. You will dismantle your military forces. You will accept Valkorian governance. You will pay tribute in resources and labor. If you refuse, we will return and finish what we have begun. Your planet will become a memorial to the cost of defiance. The transmission ended. Earth was left with its dead and its choice. In the Emergency Command Center deep beneath Geneva, world leaders gathered in person and via hologram. The room was chaos. Some demanded immediate surrender. Others called for retaliation. A few simply sat in shocked silence, unable to process the magnitude of what had happened. General Marcus Webb stood at the head of the table and waited for the shouting to die down. He was 67 years old, a career military strategist who had studied every major conflict in human history. His gray eyes were cold and calculating as he surveyed the assembled leaders. "We have 72 hours, he said quietly. His voice cut through the noise like a blade. "I need 48 of them. Give me 2 days of silence. No communications with the Valkorians. No public statements. No response at all." The President of the Americas stared at him. "General, we have nearly 9 million dead. Our coastal cities are rubble. They have 63 warships in orbit. What exactly do you think we can do in 48 hours? Webb pulled up a holographic display. Images appeared above the table, showing orbital construction platforms, hidden shipyards on the dark side of the moon, underground factories on Mars, and manufacturing facilities scattered throughout the asteroid belt. "We can prepare," Webb said simply. "We have been preparing for this scenario for 20 years. We just did not know who the enemy would be or when they would come. Now we know both." The room erupted again. Questions flew from every direction. Webb raised his hand for silence. 20 years ago, after first contact with the galactic community, I proposed a contingency plan. I argued that not every species out there would be friendly. I suggested that we needed to prepare for the worst while hoping for the best. Some of you thought I was paranoid. You approved minimal funding and told me to keep it quiet so we would not offend our new alien friends. Webb smiled without humor. I took that minimal funding and did what humanity does best. I improvised. I built networks. I recruited scientists and engineers who understood that hope is not a strategy. We have been building and testing and preparing in secret for 2 decades. The Valkorians think they attacked a primitive species with a handful of defense satellites and some outdated spacecraft. They are wrong. Captain Vasquez was pulled from the ruins of Oakland and brought to the command center 18 hours after the attack. Her sister was dead along with everyone else in that building. Elena had survived because she had been standing near a reinforced support column when the shockwave hit. Luck and structural engineering had saved her life. She arrived at the command center still covered in dust and dried blood. General Webb met her personally in the medical bay where doctors were checking her for injuries. Captain Vasquez, I am sorry for your loss, Webb said. His voice carried genuine sympathy, but his eyes remained focused and sharp. I need you. Your tactical scores are the highest in the fleet. Your psychological evaluations show an ability to stay calm under extreme stress, and you have now experienced firsthand what we are fighting against. Elena looked at him through eyes that had seen her entire world burn. What do you need me to do? Webb handed her a data pad. On it were schematics for spacecraft unlike anything in the official fleet registry. Faster, sleeker, and covered with weapon systems that should not exist according to publicly available technology. I need you to help me kill every Valkorian in this star system, Webb said quietly, and then I need you to help me send a message to the galaxy that humanity will never be conquered. Elena took the data pad. Her hands were steady despite everything she had been through. When do we start? We already have, Webb replied. Across Earth and throughout human-controlled space, a transformation was underway. The 72-hour deadline passed with no response from humanity. The Valkorians waited, expecting surrender or perhaps desperate pleas for mercy. Instead, they received silence. On the moon's far side, massive doors opened in crater walls that had seemed natural just days before. Shipyards that had been disguised as mining operations powered up to full capacity. Vessels that had been built in secret over 2 decades emerged into the light for the first time. On Mars, underground factories increased production to levels that should have been impossible. 3 shifts of workers became 4, then 5. People slept in 4-hour intervals and returned to their stations. Nobody complained. Everyone had lost someone on Earth. Everyone wanted revenge. In the asteroid belt, automated mining drones that had been programmed for dual purposes switched from civilian to military operations. They began extracting specific minerals needed for weapons manufacturing, armor plating, and ship construction. Resources flowed toward assembly points in a carefully choreographed dance that had been planned years in advance. Ambassador Threll of the Centauri Federation watched all of this from his ship in high orbit above Earth. The Centauri were a peaceful species, traders and diplomats who avoided conflict whenever possible. Threll had liked the humans during his 3 years stationed on their world. They were creative, passionate, and endlessly curious. Now he watched with growing concern as the planet below went dark. All civilian broadcasts ceased. All commercial traffic stopped. Every human colony, every station, every outpost went silent simultaneously. It was coordinated and deliberate, and it terrified him. Threll sent a priority message to his government. Something is happening. The humans are not preparing to surrender. I cannot determine what they are doing. But the energy signatures I am detecting suggest massive industrial activity. Military production on a scale I have never witnessed. Request immediate guidance. The response came back 12 hours later. Evacuate immediately. The Valkorian Emperor has declared Earth a restricted zone. Anyone remaining in the system risks being caught in the final bombardment. The humans are finished. Do not risk yourself for a doomed species. Threll read the message 3 times. Then he deleted it and moved his ship to a higher orbit. He would stay. He would witness whatever was about to happen. And he would make sure the galaxy knew the truth when it was over. On the 60th day after the attack, Earth finally broke its silence. The transmission went out on all frequencies to every ship, station, and world within 100 light-years. It reached the Valkorian Empire, the Galactic Council, and every independent species between stars. General Marcus Webb appeared on screen. Behind him stood Captain Elena Vasquez and a dozen other officers, all wearing uniforms of black and crimson. The room they occupied was clearly a warship bridge, though the design was unfamiliar. "This is General Marcus Webb of the Terran Defense Coalition speaking to the Velkorian Empire. 60 days ago, you attacked our world without provocation. You murdered 8.7 million of our people. You gave us an ultimatum. You expected us to surrender." Webb leaned forward slightly. His expression never changed, but something in his eyes made even watching through a screen feel dangerous. "Here's our response. We will meet you in the Kepler 442 system in 14 days. These are the coordinates. This is the time. Bring every ship you have. Bring your best crews. Bring your strongest weapons. Bring everything you think you need to defeat us." He paused for 3 seconds of absolute silence. "It will not be enough. What you attacked was not a helpless species. What you attacked was a race that has been at war with itself for 10,000 years. Every weapon, every tactic, every strategy we possess was designed to kill other humans, beings just as clever and desperate as ourselves. You have never faced an enemy like us. You attacked our world. You killed our families. You made this personal." Webb stood up. Behind him, the other officers did the same. "We are coming for you. We are bringing everything we have learned from millennia of warfare. We are bringing every lesson purchased with human blood. We are bringing our anger, our grief, and our promise that you will regret the day you decided to bomb Earth. 14 days. Kepler 442. Be there." The transmission ended. Across the galaxy, the message was received and analyzed. Military experts from a dozen species studied Webb's words and posture. They reviewed Earth's known capabilities. They calculated probable outcomes. The consensus was nearly universal. Humanity was bluffing. They had to be. The Velkorians would bring their full fleet, at least 600 warships. Earth had perhaps 50 vessels capable of combat. It was suicide dressed up as defiance. Only Ambassador Threll, watching from his lonely orbit above Earth, wondered if everyone else was wrong. He had seen the energy signatures. He had watched the coordinated silence. He had spent 3 years learning how humans thought. "They are not bluffing," he whispered to himself in the empty bridge of his ship. "They are planning something terrible." In the Velkorian capital, Emperor Krath-Zul watched the human transmission and laughed. His advisors laughed with him. Only Supreme Commander Zalthor, leader of the Velkorian military, did not join in the merriment. "Your Majesty," Zalthor said carefully, "I recommend caution. The humans have had 60 days to prepare. Their silence suggests coordination. We should send scouts to determine what they have been doing." Krath-Zul waved a dismissive hand. 60 days is nothing. It takes years to build a fleet. They are desperate and frightened. They are trying to save face before their inevitable surrender. We will go to this meeting. We will bring the full armada. We will show the galaxy what happens to species that defy the Velkorian Empire. The Emperor leaned forward on his throne. "And when we are done, there will be no Earth left to surrender. We will bombard their planet until nothing remains but cooling rock. Let that be our message to anyone else who thinks they can challenge us." Zalthor bowed and left the throne room. He had commanded fleets for 40 years. He had fought in 17 campaigns. Experience had taught him to recognize when an enemy was truly beaten and when they were simply regrouping. The humans, he suspected, were not beaten. On Earth, Captain Elena Vasquez stood in the hangar bay, looking at her new ship. The ESS Defiance was beautiful in the way that weapons of war could be beautiful. Sleek lines, powerful engines, and enough firepower to crack a moon. It was one of 200 identical vessels that had been built in secret over the past 2 decades. General Webb walked up beside her. "What do you think?" Elena ran her hand along the hull. Her reflection stared back at her from the polished metal. "I think the Velkorians are going to learn a very painful lesson." Webb nodded. "We lost 8.7 million people. We cannot bring them back. But we can make sure their deaths meant something. We can make sure no alien species ever looks at Earth and thinks we are easy prey." Elena turned to face him. "When do we leave?" "Tomorrow at dawn. The fleet assembles at Rally Point Echo. 200 ships, 15,000 crew. Every one of them volunteers. Every one of them lost someone in the attack. She looked back at the Defiance. Good. Then let us go teach the Valkorians about humanity. Across Earth and its colonies, the war fleet prepared for departure. Ships were loaded with weapons and supplies. Crews ran final system checks. Messages were recorded for families in case the worst happened. But despite the possibility of death, morale was high. Higher than it had ever been. Humanity was going to war. And after 10,000 years of fighting, themselves, they were finally united against a common enemy. The Valkorians had made one critical mistake. They had attacked Earth expecting submission. Instead, they had created something far more dangerous. They had given humanity a reason to stop fighting each other and focus all that accumulated violence and tactical brilliance on a single target. The galaxy was about to learn what happened when you made that mistake. In orbit above Earth, the first ships of the Terran fleet began to move. Their engines burned bright against the darkness. One by one, they accelerated toward the jump points that would take them to Kepler 442. The countdown had begun. In 14 days, the Valkorians would arrive expecting an easy victory. Instead, they would face something they had never encountered before. They would face humanity at war, and that was a force that had been perfected. Through blood and necessity over countless generations, the galaxy was watching. The Valkorians were confident, and humanity was coming with everything they had. The awakening was over. Now came the reckoning. They bombed Earth? How cute now. Watch humanity counterattack. The Terran war fleet assembled at Rally Point Echo, a coordinates deep in interstellar space halfway between Earth and the Kepler 442 system. 200 warships gathered in perfect formation, their black hulls absorbing the distant starlight. Each vessel bore a name painted in crimson letters. San Francisco, Mumbai, Lagos, Melbourne, Jakarta, every destroyed city, every lost neighborhood, every forgotten street where people had died screaming. Captain Elena Vasquez stood on the bridge of the ESS Defiance, watching the tactical display as the last ships arrived. Around her, the crew worked with quiet efficiency. These were not career military personnel celebrating their service. These were engineers, scientists, teachers, and farmers who had volunteered to become warriors. Every person on every ship had lost someone in the Valkorian attack. Grief had transformed them into something harder than steel. General Marcus Webb's face appeared on the main view screen. His transmission reached every ship simultaneously. All crew, this is General Webb. In 6 hours we jump to Kepler 442. The Valkorian fleet will be waiting. Intelligence estimates they will bring between 500 and 700 warships. They outmatch us in numbers, in firepower, and in combat experience. Webb paused, letting that information settle. Elena could see crew members exchanging glances. Some looked nervous. Most looked grimly determined. They have all of those advantages, Webb continued, and they will still lose. Do you know why? Because they think war is about showing superiority. They think if you have bigger ships and more weapons, victory is guaranteed. They have fought species that surrendered when the odds looked bad. They have never fought a species that spent 10,000 years learning how to win when everything was against them. The general's expression hardened. We are not fighting to show strength. We are fighting to survive. We are fighting for every person who died in San Francisco, in Mumbai, in Lagos. We are fighting so that no alien species ever looks at Earth again and thinks we are acceptable targets. Most importantly, we are fighting with 300 centuries of human warfare experience. That makes us the most dangerous force they have ever encountered. Webb leaned closer to his camera. Remember your training. Trust your crew. Follow your tactical protocols. And when the moment comes, do what humans have always done best. Adapt, improvise, win. See you on the other side. The transmission ended. Elena turned to her bridge crew. You heard the general. All stations prepare for jump. Weapon systems online. Shields at maximum. And somebody find me the coordinates for the Valkorian flagship. When this starts, I want to know exactly where their commander is. 6 hours later, the Terran fleet jumped to Kepler 442. The Valkorian armada was already there, positioned in a massive sphere formation around the system's fourth planet. Supreme Commander Zalthor stood on the bridge of the Imperial flagship Dominance, watching his tactical displays with growing anticipation. 612 warships under his command, the largest fleet the Velkorian Empire had assembled in 50 years. It was excessive for dealing with humans, but Emperor Krathzul had wanted overwhelming force. A demonstration that would terrify the entire galaxy. Sensors detected the human fleet arriving at the edge of the system. Zalthor studied the readings with interest. 200 ships, just as intelligence had estimated. They were smaller than Velkorian vessels, but moved with remarkable precision. Their formation was tight, disciplined, and completely unfamiliar. "Open a channel," Zalthor ordered. "Let us give them one final chance to surrender." The communication system activated. Zalthor's image was transmitted to every human ship. "Human fleet, this is Supreme Commander Zalthor of the Velkorian Empire. You are outnumbered 3-1. Your vessels are inferior. Your crews are inexperienced. Surrender now and your deaths will be quick. Continue this foolishness and we will make examples of you before we finish destroying your world." The response came not from General Webb, but from a woman Zalthor did not recognize. Captain Elena Vasquez appeared on his screen, her dark eyes showing no fear whatsoever. "Supreme Commander, this is Captain Vasquez of the ESS Defiance. Your Emperor killed 8.7 million of my people. He destroyed cities that had stood for centuries. He murdered my sister. Her name was Maria. She was a teacher. She was 28 years old. She died screaming in the rubble of her classroom." Elena's voice remained perfectly calm, which made her next words even more chilling. "I am going to kill every single one of you, not because I enjoy killing, not because I want to, but because you came to my home and declared war on my species. This is what war with humanity looks like. I hope you learned something before you die." The transmission cut off. Zalthor stared at the blank screen for a moment. Then he turned to his weapons officer. "All ships battle formation. Prepare to engage. Show them the price of arrogance." The Velkorian fleet began moving forward in their standard attack pattern. It was a proven formation, used successfully in dozens of campaigns. The heavy battleships at the center, cruisers on the flanks, destroyers spreading out to prevent escape. It should have been a simple matter of overwhelming firepower crushing inferior opponents. The human fleet did something unexpected. They scattered. 200 ships broke formation and accelerated in every direction at speeds that should not have been possible. They were not running. They were spreading out across three-dimensional space in a pattern that made no tactical sense to Velkorian doctrine. Within seconds, the organized formation had become chaos. "What are they doing?" Zalthor demanded. "Track them. Target the nearest vessels." His tactical officer struggled with the displays. "Commander, they are moving too fast. Our targeting computers cannot maintain locks, and their acceleration profiles, these should tear their ships apart. The gravitational forces alone should kill their crews." "They are humans," Zalthor said grimly. "Apparently they are more durable than we thought. Spread the fleet. Surround them. Use our numbers to box them in." The Velkorian armada began to expand, trying to create a net that would catch the darting human ships. It was exactly what Elena Vasquez had expected them to do. "All ships, execute pattern Wolfpack," she transmitted on the encrypted tactical channel. "Target their heavy units. Hit and run. Make them chase ghosts." The human fleet shifted tactics instantly. Groups of 5 ships would converge on a single Velkorian battleship from multiple directions. They would fire everything they had in a concentrated barrage, then scatter before the return fire could hit them. It was three-dimensional warfare based on submarine tactics from Earth's 20th century. Attack from unexpected angles, strike hard and disappear before retaliation. The Velkorians had never seen anything like it. Their doctrine assumed enemies would engage in formation, trading shots until one side's shields failed. This was something else entirely. This was guerrilla warfare in space. The first Velkorian battleship died 8 minutes into the battle. 5 human ships had focused their fire on its shield generators. When the shields collapsed, nuclear-tipped missiles struck the hull. The battleship broke apart in a flash of white fire. Zalthor watched the explosion with shock. That vessel had shields rated to withstand sustained bombardment for hours. It should not have been possible to destroy it so quickly. "All ships, tight formation," he ordered. "Close ranks. Do not let them isolate our vessels." But tightening the formation played into human hands. Elena watched the Velkorian fleet compress and smiled coldly. They are grouping up. Perfect. All ships, execute Hammer Protocol. 50 human vessels broke off from the main engagement and accelerated to maximum speed. They were heading straight for the densest concentration of Velkorian ships. Zalthor saw them coming and realized what they intended a few seconds too late. All ships evasive maneuvers. Those vessels are on collision courses. The 50 human ships were not planning to survive the engagement. They were loaded with nuclear weapons, antimatter charges, and experimental explosives that General Webb's scientists had developed in secret. Each ship had a volunteer crew of 5. 250 people who had chosen to trade their lives for maximum damage. The ships crashed into the Velkorian formation at relativistic speeds. Some were shot down before impact. 37 made it through. When they hit, they detonated everything they carried. The center of the Velkorian fleet simply ceased to exist. 86 warships vanished in overlapping explosions that created a temporary star. The shockwaves damaged another 40 vessels. In 15 seconds, the Velkorian numerical advantage had been cut by a quarter. Zalthor gripped his command chair as the dominance shook from the distant explosions. His tactical displays were chaos. Status reports flooded in from every direction. Ships reporting damage. Ships requesting orders. Ships no longer responding at all. They sacrificed their own people, his second officer said in disbelief. They deliberately crashed ships into us. Zalthor understood then what he was truly facing. These were not warriors fighting for territory or resources. These were survivors of genocide fighting with nothing left to lose. They would use any tactic, accept any cost, do whatever was necessary to win. Reform the fleet, he ordered. All damaged ships fall back. Battle-ready vessels target the remaining human ships. Maximum firepower. No more defensive posturing. Kill them all. The battle evolved into a brutal slugging match. The Velkorian advantage in numbers remained significant even after their losses. 400 ships against 150 humans. But the humans were faster, more maneuverable, and completely unpredictable. Elena coordinated her section of the fleet with cold precision. She had studied every battle humanity had ever fought. She had analyzed tactics from ancient naval warfare, from air combat, from tank battles and infantry engagements. She understood that technology mattered less than doctrine. The Velkorians had better ships. Humanity had better ideas. Defiance enemy cruiser attempting to flank position 7, her tactical officer reported. Hard to port. Full burn. Weapons, give me a firing solution on that cruiser's engines. If we cannot punch through their shields, we will cripple their mobility. The Defiance twisted through space with acceleration that would have killed any non-human crew. Humans had spent centuries developing technology to let their pilots survive extreme maneuvers. G-force dampeners, inertial compensation fields, medical nanobots that prevented stroke and organ damage. Every system had been refined through necessity and tragedy. The cruiser tried to track them but could not turn fast enough. Elena's weapons officer locked on and fired. Railgun rounds moving at significant fractions of light speed punched through the cruiser's engine section. Secondary explosions rippled along its hull. Target crippled, the weapons officer reported. They are dead in space, move on. Find the next one. We do not have time to confirm kills. The battle raged for 3 hours. Ships burned on both sides. Space filled with debris and radiation. Human casualties mounted steadily. Every loss hurt, but the Velkorians were dying faster. Zalthor watched his fleet crumble with growing horror. He had started with 612 ships. He was down to 340. The humans had started with 200. They still had 91 combat-capable vessels. The mathematics were clear. At this rate, the Velkorians would run out of ships first. It should not have been possible. Every tactical simulation said it should not have been possible. But humanity was rewriting the rules with every engagement. All ships prepare to withdraw, Zalthor ordered. His pride screamed against retreat, but his duty demanded survival. We cannot win this. Fall back to Rally Point Gamma. We will regroup and request reinforcements. The Velkorian fleet began breaking off combat and heading for jump coordinates. It was the moment Elena had been waiting for. All human ships pursuit formation. Do not let them escape. General Webb wants a complete victory. That means none of them make it home to tell their emperor what happened here. The human fleet accelerated after the retreating Valkorians. They were tired. They were damaged. Many ships were operating on backup systems, but they were not stopping. They would chase the Valkorians across the galaxy if necessary. Zalthor realized his mistake too late. The humans were not going to accept a Valkorian withdrawal. They wanted annihilation. His fleet was running, which meant their formations were broken and their coordination was failing. Perfect conditions for the hunters to pick off stragglers. The Dominants shuddered as human ships caught up and opened fire. Zalthor felt his vessel dying around him. Shield generators were offline, hull breaches on multiple decks, life support failing in 6 sections. They had minutes at best. He opened a final transmission. "This is Supreme Commander Zalthor to all Valkorian forces. I was wrong. The Emperor was wrong. We attacked a species we did not understand. We thought they were primitives. We thought overwhelming force would be enough. But humans do not fight like we do. They fight like they have nothing to lose because we took everything from them. If any of you survive, tell our people the truth. Tell them that humanity is not prey. They are predators, and we made the mistake of entering their territory." The transmission ended as the Dominants exploded. Supreme Commander Zalthor died never knowing that his final message would change the course of galactic history. 6 hours after the battle began, it ended. The Valkorian fleet was destroyed, not defeated, not driven off, completely annihilated. 612 ships reduced to debris, 90,000 Valkorian military personnel dead. The human fleet had paid a terrible price. Of the 200 ships that entered the battle, 63 remained combat capable. 8,000 humans had died in the fight, but they had won. General Webb broadcast from his flagship to every surviving human vessel.
"All ships, this is General Webb. You have achieved something remarkable today.
You have defeated an empire that has dominated this region for centuries. You have proven that humanity cannot be conquered. You have avenged our dead. I am proud of every one of you." Webb paused, and when he spoke again, his voice carried a harder edge. "Now we send our message to the galaxy. Prepare to broadcast on all frequencies. It is time everyone understood exactly what happens when you attack Earth." The transmission that followed went out to every inhabited system within 200 light years. Webb appeared on screen with the wreckage of the Valkorian fleet visible behind him. "This is General Marcus Webb of Earth. 60 days ago, the Valkorian Empire attacked our world. They killed 8.7 million of our people. They gave us an ultimatum: surrender or die. This is our response." The camera panned across the debris field. Shattered hulls, burning wreckage, the complete destruction of what had been the most powerful fleet in the sector. We are a young species. We have only been in space for a few generations, but we bring with us 10,000 years of warfare experience. Every tactic we use today was learned fighting ourselves. Every weapon was developed to kill other humans. Every strategy was refined through blood and necessity. We did not want this war, but since it was forced upon us, we fought it the only way we know how. Completely. Totally. Without mercy or hesitation. Webb looked directly into the camera. "Let this be a message to every species in the galaxy. Earth is not prey. Humanity is not weak. We are peaceful when allowed to be. We are cooperative when treated fairly. But if you attack us, if you threaten our survival, if you kill our people, then you will face everything we have learned from 10 millennia of learning how to destroy each other. You will face our rage, our determination, and our absolute refusal to ever surrender." The Valkorians learned this lesson. We hope no one else needs to repeat it. The transmission ended. Across the galaxy, thousands of species watched and absorbed the message. The Valkorian Empire, which had seemed invincible just days before, had been destroyed by a species most had considered primitive. Ambassador Threll watched from his ship in Earth orbit. He had witnessed the fleet depart. Now he watched them return, battered but victorious. He recorded everything and sent it to his government with a simple message attached. "Humanity is the most dangerous species in known space, not because they are aggressive, but because they have perfected the art of survival against impossible odds. Recommend immediate establishment of formal alliance. We want them as friends, never as enemies." On Earth, people gathered in the streets when news of the victory spread. They cheered. They cried. They mourned the 8,000 who had died in the battle, and the 8.7 million who had died in the attack. But they also celebrated. Humanity had been tested and had passed. They had been attacked and had struck back harder than anyone thought possible. Captain Elena Vasquez stood on the bridge of the ESS Defiance as it limped back toward Earth. Her ship was damaged. Her crew was exhausted. She had personally overseen the deaths of thousands of Valkorians. She felt no joy in that, but she felt no regret either. Her sister was still dead. San Francisco was still destroyed. Nothing would bring back what was lost. But Maria's death had been avenged. The Valkorians had paid for their arrogance. And the galaxy now knew that attacking Earth was the last mistake any species would ever make. General Webb sent her a private communication. "Captain, you performed admirably. When we get home, I want you to help design the training program for our expanded fleet. We will need to teach a lot of civilians how to fight the way you did today." Elena nodded slowly. "How many ships are we building, General?" Webb smiled grimly. "As many as it takes to make sure we never have another day like the one that started this war. Humanity is never going to be the victim again. From now on, we will be the species others think twice about before threatening." The Terran fleet returned to Earth as heroes. They had left as survivors seeking vengeance. They returned as the victors of humanity's first interstellar war. The cost had been terrible, nearly 17,000 dead in total, but the alternative, surrender and subjugation, had been unacceptable. In the years that followed, the Valkorian Empire collapsed. Their military destroyed, their emperor discredited, their subject species saw an opportunity for freedom and took it. 17 species declared independence. The empire that had dominated the sector for 3 centuries fell apart in less than 5 years. Earth became a power in galactic affairs. Not through aggression, but through reputation. Other species remembered what happened at Kepler 442. They remembered that the humans did not just win. They annihilated an empire, and they did it with a fleet built in secret over just 2 decades. Humanity joined the Galactic Council not as vassals, but as equals. Their representative was Captain Elena Vasquez, who spoke with quiet authority earned through combat. When she addressed the council for the first time, her message was simple. Earth seeks peace. We seek cooperation and mutual benefit with all species. We will share our technology, our culture, and our friendship with anyone who approaches us honestly. But understand this. We will never forget what happened when the Valkorians attacked us. We will never be unprepared again, and we will never ever allow another species to kill millions of our people without facing consequences that will echo through history. Humanity offers the galaxy a choice. Work with us as friends or learn the lessons the Valkorians learned. The choice is yours. The galaxy chose friendship. Because after witnessing what humanity could do when pushed to the edge, no one wanted to see what they would do if truly threatened with extinction. The memorial on Earth bore 8,700,000 names. Every person who died in the Valkorian attack. People visited it daily, leaving flowers and messages. Among the names was Maria Vasquez, 28 years old, teacher. Her sister had made sure her name would never be forgotten. Just as she had made sure humanity would never forget what happened when someone mistook their patience for weakness. They had bombed Earth thinking it was smart. Humanity had shown them how cute that really was. And then humanity had taught the galaxy a lesson that would be remembered for generations. Never underestimate a species that spent 10,000 years learning how to survive against themselves. Because when they turn that experience outward, nothing in the universe can stand against them. The awakening had led to reckoning, and the reckoning had transformed humanity from victims into victors. The galaxy would never look at Earth the same way again, and that was exactly what General Marcus Webb, Captain Elena Vasquez, and every human who fought at Kepler 442 had intended. War had come to humanity. Humanity had answered, and the universe had learned to be very, very careful about who they decided to bomb.